With the release of the brand new maps coming back into World of Tanks, we are going to be looking at exactly the maps themselves, how you can play well on them, and potentially do that over the course of 2 videos. So today we'll be looking at 2 of the maps, and the first one being Redshire, and the sort of positions you want to be looking out for, because of course this is, for probably quite a few of you who watch the channel, a brand new map. And for those of you who maybe have seen this map before back in the day, it might be a little bit of a reminder as to some of the positions that are good to use. And I guess, considering we haven't played it in a while, it's a nice refresher for me to be able to kind of get back involved with the new map. And of course there are a few new bushes that have come into the game, as with this new update, where Wargaming have altered a couple of different things. Not major upgrades or differences between the standard World of Tanks console layout of the map, but yeah, a certain decent amount of changes that we can kind of talk about. But first things first, what is the key positions on the map? Well, you'll see where that tank destroyer on the enemy team is at C5, and of course where we're located at the minute. These are 2 classic examples of where you want to take your tank destroyer to be able to get some early shots at the beginning of the game. Am I saying you should camp here? No. This is not a position that you camp in for very long. It's just purely for the beginning of the game, where you can get a few early shots off, and as soon as you get spotted you pretty much don't want to be sitting in that position anymore as you pull back behind the ridgeline where we currently are here. Now, with an AT-15, granted, I know it's not particularly the best tank in terms of being able to be flexible, because you don't really have a turret at all, and you're very, very slow. Well, at least not as slow with this newest update, because we did get some buffs to that, and I guess that's something that I've enjoyed over the last couple of days, is grinding through the AT-15, where once before I found it very difficult having a top speed of 20 kilometers an hour as opposed to what it is now, where you can actually do 25. So yeah, coming around on Redshire, my favourite map in the game, is definitely easier, and a game that I've actually enjoyed quite a lot now. Obviously, with this sort of matchup, you see that the majority of my team have gone left, and we do have a few people coming round to the right, but it's not going to be able to hold probably the majority of the enemy team's force that go over that right hand side, as you see me dropping rounds into the jammer, who's now progressing quite rapidly over towards the enemy team. Of course, there is now the Batchat 25T that's decided to YOLO in, and don't quite know what he was deciding there, but we'll finish him off and get a couple 100 extra damage in this game to be able to kind of progress our, at least through the AT-15 line pretty well. The gameplay in the background is not necessarily something that is super fantastic and that you'll want to be able to kind of replicate, but definitely the positions in which I'm using will be positions that you want to keep hold of and make sure that you use the same sort of angles that you see I'm using here. Of course, what you do want to have on this map is basically a turret, and if you don't have a turret, then making sure that you use the mobility, because Redshire is a fantastic map to move around. And what you don't want to do is exactly what these KPZ and also the heavy tank on our team are doing here, by moving forward down into that dip, because you can get hit from the right hand side, which become a real problem for 90% of you, because yeah, you can get hit very easily from both above and to the side. And what you definitely don't want to be doing is any of that. And so, yeah, already we've picked up 2,700 damage within this game just from literally holding down this position, not being too aggressive. You can't be super aggressive on Redshire. Yes, you can be aggressive to get to your position at the beginning. Over on the left by the cap circle where you see our light tank over there, you can rush into that kind of hill area over to our left, but you definitely don't want to be just YOLOing in, because that's not going to work very well, and you'll be kind of regretting that later on. However, what you can do is from these positions just lock down anyone that decides to then push. The Indian Panzer, of course, making a mistake coming out with his back of his tank out so we could pen him, and yeah, I guess that's something that you want to keep an eye out for, is just the people that get spotted on top of the hill straight ahead, because trust me, that's where a lot of people camp, and if you use this position you can kind of negate them from pushing down, and that's something that I think you'll want to be able to utilise. It's not necessarily a position that you always want to be sitting in, because sometimes you do actually have to advance, so you can't just be purely passive within the game, especially if there's artillery, which you'll see me kind of being being mindful of here as we're moving around and trying to get behind this rock as much as we can within this game. And of course artillery, since there's only a couple tanks left on our team, are going to be most likely focused on the slow ogre tank destroyer that we are. Now, noting that there is a heavy tank on the right hand flank against one of our heavy tanks over there, it's kind of important that we don't lose that flank entirely, and because that flank, essentially once they've won the area which you can see them fighting against, it is a big open field, so you can use this defensive position over here on the ridgeline to great effect. Now, AT-15 is not the best tank for this job because you just don't have the gun depression, and obviously you have to expose a lot of your tank to be able to get the actual right gun depression over this hill. So no, you probably don't want to be doing that, at least not all consistently. And here is a big misplay. We decide that, you know what, we can take a few hits. We're probably going to be able to bounce the KV-4 here. And yeah, we get hit in the side. Then we get penned by the KV-4, which was an absolute nightmare. And then we get hit again by someone over on the right-hand side. And you'll see me now realising that I did make a really bad decision there. I thought I'd be able to bounce at least a couple rounds, which would have made it a lot more worth it. We could have got rid of the KV-4 there, which would have helped out a lot. But from this point now, we're going to try and intercept the KV-4 if he then decides to come forward on the map into the aggressive position. We are on a bit of a back foot here in this game, and I don't know whether we're going to be able to pull it out of the bag, hence why I'm kind of moving into this position where I may be able to support against the Carnarvon over there, or at least do something against any tanks that now push over that side. Ideally, what you want to be doing is making sure that you are over in that position that we were in just a second ago when we lost all of our hit points as they come over, and then we could have got a hell of a lot more damage and what have you as you go through. Obviously trying to lock down the KV-4 here as we hit him again in the tracks, but it is all over for him, and you can see just the utter reload of the AT-15 just rinsing opponents continuously as we go through. Obviously very looking like a bad situation for a tank, and it's probably only going to get worse with 4,084 damage racked up within this map and holding down this central location. This is what being in a tank destroyer is all about on this map. Yes, you can camp at the back, but often the only games you're going to be having if you do that, at least at the beginning of the game, is ones where, yes, you pick up a couple of 100 damage or 1,000 damage when the game ends. It's not something you want to do. Now, I call over to the heavy tank saying that there's going to be someone over here. Obviously, it's the Carnarvon on full health. I already know that, but we try and put in a couple rounds into him to try and take him out as much and as quickly as possible. Do pick up 4,600 damage in the AT-15, which is a pretty nice result, at least for the tank itself, but that is pretty much where the game ends. The Object 752 comes outside onto the Carnarvon here, which is something you don't want to do on this map. He definitely went into a really bad spot for this tank, and going into this position is just a bad idea in the first place. You don't have much cover from any direction, and often you can get shot in all directions. The only really reason it does work is at the very beginning of the game, where of course there's going to be no one on your side, so you're never going to have that problem. But yeah, you can see just here it's kind of a little bit of a mistake that he's made. And so he lost all of the hit points very early on, and that happens all of the time on Redshire. I see so many times where people just sit out in the open, and of course you're going to get hit from multiple directions, especially as the game then progresses on. And unfortunately for the Object 752 there, he gets taken out, and there is of course just the GW Tiger left alive as a couple of the enemy team just try and take him out at the end of the game. Redshire being my favourite map in the game, hence probably why I can play it a little bit better than some of the other ones. Still not perfect games, I'm not going to lie, but a little bit better than maybe your average player that just jumps on and's never played this map. And hopefully it gave you a little bit of an insight as to the positions that are crucial. Obviously you have camping positions. I can't go through every single position, but I'm just showcasing what a kind of turreted tank can do, and a TD at that, and just showing you the kind of areas, the mentality that you want to be having on Redshire to have good games. And of course, unfortunately, we didn't win, but we did pick up 4,600 damage. The Carnarvon on the enemy team had a fantastic result there. Roki 8571, really good game there. Don't know if you'll be watching this, but yeah, fantastic result for you. And you did manage to pick us up at the end of the game. And yeah, let's check out the second gameplay, and I'll catch you there. The second map coming back into the game as part of the update revamp maps is of course Lakeville, and we have a really nice gameplay showing you the key aspects of the game, where you don't want to go, where you do want to go, and where you can relocate to during the game's kind of advancement and stuff. And so yes, in this game we are playing in the AMX 30. I believe at this point we may have been stock within the game, so yeah, not particularly the best tank, at least at the beginning. And you see here we race into this position, which can be of real importance at the beginning of the game, because you can spot a lot of the enemy team very early on, which allows you to then of course get assistance damage super quick. Allows you to know what's going into the town and what's going to be then facing you in the right hand side of the map, which is where a lot of the heavy tanks and a lot of the heavily armoured mediums will end up brawling over in that position. And what you'll see is often a lot of fighting going on over there. You'll also see a lot of people make the mistake of just trying to go over to the left on that little narrow valley and channel, where, to be honest with you, I would never really recommend, even if you are a player that has played a long time and you know how to fight on ridge lines. It's not a position I've ever really enjoyed going into. I think it just leads to stale gameplay, and you end up just not having the best of games anyway within the game. So yeah, it's not something I would recommend. Obviously what you see me doing here is pumping rounds into the Waffle E100 from this position, getting a bit of spotting damage in the process, and you can see we're just spotting random enemies as they're trying to cross into the town. And what you definitely don't want to be doing is sitting anywhere near where that icebreaker is currently. Although he's not lost an inordinate amount of hit points right now, over time you get stuck in that position, and from that position you can barely get any hits on anyone else. Same with where this Wraith is. You don't want to push into these positions early on in the game, and you certainly don't want to stay there. They're positions you might want to use later on in the game when you're just trying to spot or do something like that, but yeah, at the beginning of the game, at the midpoint of the game, these are positions that are a absolute no-go area, and you will be getting peppered by the whole team that can spot you, which, yeah, from the mid-ridge where we are, in the central line in the town that only really works for medium tanks and tanks that you see me doing here, then yeah, I think that that is really something that will happen, and you definitely don't want to be making that mistake as with the icebreaker here. Obviously, we can just keep him permanently spotted from this position, and this is where you get a lot of spotting damage on Lakeville. I know someone I know did get 11,000 spotting damage, and my teammate ended up getting, I think, 13,000 damage in the Death Star, as people just continually crossed and they got a load of damage against them. You can see here the Aguila who's just moving forward. I don't quite know what he was thinking, but obviously it didn't go very well. You can see us just trying to catch a couple of shots into the town area, and this is the nice thing about using it. If you have a turret as well within this kind of area of the map, you're going to have a pretty good day, because yes, you can pretty much only see the turret of the tank, so that's always good. What you can do now is, of course, when the Wraith then pulls back, we can try and get a shot into him if we aimed it properly. But although we haven't had necessarily the highest damage or assistance damage game in this one, it shows you the positions that, yeah, if you didn't get a little bit unlucky, if you had a lot more opponents moving in, and yeah, I guess that's something that I think we should talk about. It's something that you'll want to be doing in your games, and I guess just understanding the point of someone that's played the game for 21,000 battles and seen all of the different types of games that this map can have, I think it would probably help you. So that's why I am going with this video. Of course, we could go with plenty more different maps, and I'm hoping over time that we can pretty much go through all of the different maps and give you some ideas as to how to play them. We'll obviously go into more in-depth guides, because there's only so much I can do upon the release, and I do only have so many hours in the day, especially when I've got full-time work that I go to and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm hoping to just try my best to try and get out as much content for you guys, especially on the lead up to Christmas and during the holiday period, as I hope you do have some really fantastic times over these next couple of weeks and the next couple of months as we move forward into 2022. And yeah, I think it's always good that we get a little bit of a discussion as to what you guys want to see, because obviously I can make content pretty much as to whatever you want. If you want more map guides, if you want more guides as to how to play the game, if you want tank reviews, all of that sort of stuff. Obviously we'll continue with the update news, because you guys always watch that sort of stuff, learning about what's coming into the game and the opinion of what is coming into the game. Yeah, I think that's always useful for you guys. Obviously, what you see me doing here is knowing that our team have kind of won the right-hand side, and that we need to keep these people in the middle spotted for our team to be able to get a little bit of a crossfire going on Lakeville. And Lakeville is a crossfire map. This is where you really where you can gather so much assistance damage, is when you do go for the crossfires, as you see me snap around into the M48. And this is the perfect scenario to be in a medium tank, just waiting until the opponent fires, just putting rounds into them without them being able to put any shots into you. You see he turned his turret, which we can put another round in, and then he fires again, which means we can just pull out, we can aim our shot straight into that lower plate, although it would have ended up in the upper plate. And yeah, getting a nice amount of damage at the beginning of this match, at least, well, at the beginning of our kind of damage racking up and total coming up as we move throughout this game. Obviously, one thing that you will note is that winning on the Valley side is probably one of the worst things in terms of trying to have the best and most impactful game, because often the most defensible position on the map is the area over on these where the cap circles are, essentially, and you'll be able to defend them really easily because it's a massive open area where you cannot progress through. You definitely find it a struggle to cap on this map, and yes, there may be a couple of odd games where you don't manage to actually get back to the cap in time, but yeah, it's very rare on this one. What you see me doing here is retreating a little bit. I do not want to be on my own against those tier 10s over there, and although we do push forward, I do decide that sometimes, as long as my team are then making the decision to at least move back towards the cap circle, I'm going to go and spot, even if it means that we do get taken out, because of course we are a one shot for the Panzer KPFW 7 or 8. And so what we will do is just move back to spot for them. We don't have to go out and we don't have to get any damage on them, along with the Jaeger over here. But so long as we're just spotting them, keeping them lit up for our team, hopefully they can deal a little bit of damage. And if we can get some shots in, it's always nice. And the Jaeger there turns for us. We're going to keep ourselves really, really close up to this corner, because that will mean that they can't then just come around. It also means then if we're ramped up like that, we're going to be able to reverse really quickly should we need to reverse down that slope, because yeah, when you're up there you're going to have more reverse speed than on the flat. And what you see me doing here, going for the Panzer KPFWs, 7's the side of the weak point, basically, you know, at the back of the turret, and we managed to take him out. We've got a Pantera then moving forward, and a heavy tank in the middle of the map. We go for the Pantera here. We do not manage to actually hit him, and unfortunately he does get into the position over there, which is basically like a closed off area where you cannot actually move forward. What we now have a sticky situation. We know that the heavy tank is in the middle because we spotted him earlier, and we knew that the rounds were coming in at the T54E2 on our team over there, and so we knew that he was there. But if we push forward for him, we could get potentially attacked by the P44 Pantera, and so yeah, it's a bit of a sticky situation. However, in this game we're just going to keep him lit. Hopefully the T54 will just stay at the back and put rounds into him very easily, and we'll secure the win. Whether or not that actually happens and the T54E2 just does his own thing, yeah, I guess you'll just have to wait and see. Of course, the P44 is not on the most amount of hit points. Well, he is on quite a few and we're not on the most amount, so it's a bit difficult for us to consistently take him out, because we do, well, basically we're a two-shot for him. He's in an auto-reloading tank, and our T54E2 is reloading at this current moment in time, so yeah, a little bit of a horrible scenario for us at the moment. So we're just going to have to wait it out a little bit and decide what we're going to do from this point. What I do decide is just to move back a little bit and we're going to then take the area right over to the right. We now move into the central area of the map, just trying to open up an angle on the Progetto here, so we could get at least one shot into him, whilst our T-54E2 potentially can get some more into him from a different position. Lakeville is all about getting multiple angles on the opponents that you can, and that is exactly what we're trying to do here. Unfortunately for us, in just a second we're about to receive a hit from the Progetto there, which is really annoying. That means that we are 100% a one-shot and we cannot now progress against him at all. And we also have the artillery, which could literally splash us because we are in a French paper tank. Yeah, it's not a very good scenario for us right now, but what we will do is, of course, make our way into the centre because we need to spot for the T-54. Hopefully he'll help us. Hopefully he'll get the gist that we are trying to spot for him and that he'll look over this direction, but for some reason he keep on progressing through the town. Don't quite know what he was doing. If he just literally side-scraped off a building and just waited for me to pop some vision on this guy, then he'd be able to get some extra damage. Instead, he progresses right the way through the town, which is something you never want to do on Lakeville. You do not want to just go straight from the town, especially when there are people in the middle that are going to spot you, and you'll see in just a second how badly it goes for the T-54E2 here. As we make a progression into the Progetto there, putting one clean round into him. We do try and go for a second one, but unfortunately for the Progetto he does bounce. We probably could have dealt another damaging shot into him, but we wouldn't have been able to take him out all in one go. So from this point we then decide that now is the time to just get out of there, because if we don't, what could potentially happen is the Progetto just rush us. We're not going to be able to reload quick enough to be able to then put 2 shots into him before he then reloads 1, which means that he's probably going to take us out if he rushes us. And so we're just going to now relocate. We're going to get right out of the map. We're going to go behind all of these tree bushes, and once we've done that, we can then break contact. We can get over to this ridge line in the center over here between the mountain on the right and also the area in the left. We may or may not spot the tank as we move forward, and hence we get up some speed, and then we can get into this position up here where we do eventually actually spot the heavy tank. We're going to have better view range than the heavy himself, so it's not going to really be a problem. We'll put a nice slabbing round straight through the front of his tank there in the Progetto, and now we're just going to try and spot again. We can put 1 round in blind. We don't manage to actually hit him, so yeah, from this point it's just a case of just waiting and being patient, putting the round potentially into the top of his tank. And yes, we do manage to shut him down. At this point we do get spotted, however, which means that it's going to be pretty risky whether the artillery hits us, and there definitely clenched my backside there as the artillery round came in and we raised our barrel in. Loving that the artillery did actually miss us, and we are able to now go 1v1 against the enemy artillery. The FV207 there, not particularly the best artillery piece in the game, but certainly could take us out by splashing us very easily, and so we do need to get the element of surprise, and surprise when you've got medium tank view range that's fantastic in the AMX-30 is no problem. We are probably going to outspot him, and as we talk about that we do, and the FV207 over there is over there, and we did load a HE round which allows us to have better alpha. We pull then back so that we're at least behind some sort of bush. We go for the lower plate, and there we go, picking up the last final damaging hit on the FV207 and winning the game for our team. Not necessarily the hardest carry in the game, could have definitely been made easier if the T-54 just wasn't as aggressive straight through the town, and something that he probably shouldn't have done, but we did pick up 4,264 damage, getting at that last remaining hit points of both the artillery and the Progetto there, and we picked up a nice bit of assistance on top. Nothing major on Lakeville, trust me, you can get a lot more assistance damage, and we still pick it up 5 enemies down as well, and 1,070 blocked in a French medium tank, something you don't see every day. And of course we pick up the mastery badge within this tank. So there we go, Lakeville, a really good map, certainly one of the better ones, and hopefully we showcase some of the areas that you don't want to go in on the left hand side of the map in that valley channel. And then if you're in a medium tank, taking that middle road. If you're in a heavy tank, don't go in the middle road. This is something that you see a lot of mistakes being made. yeah, not an area that you want to go in your heavy tank. You need view range if you're going to go over there. And so even if you do have a medium tank, if you don't have the view range of the highest kind of caliber, then taking yourself into the middle means that you're going to get outspotted, and it's a very open area to the enemies. And if you don't win the town area, or if you don't keep an eye on what's going on in the town area, you can then get taken out from the area in multiple directions, and there's often not enough cover to keep hidden in the middle of the map when there are multiple angles coming in from the town and also straight ahead of you. So that's something that you do want to make sure that you keep an eye on. Obviously, if you did like this video and you found it informative or you learnt something, then hit that like button, and you can check out some of the other gameplay and tank reviews we have on the channel up in the top right corner of the cards section, and of course they should be on screen right now. Other than that, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I hope you join me back tomorrow for another World of Tanks console video coming soon. Goodbye.